Would you agree that if you use a really small knife on a really big job, it would be unsafe?
Yes.
Yeah, if I use a paring knife on a watermelon, then I'm going to, stab myself, right? If I use a really big knife on a really small job, that would be dangerous too, right? My fingers would get in the way, I'd cut myself. Also, efficiency. You have to have the right tool for the right what? Job. Generally, the rule of thumb is that whatever you're cutting, the knife has to be at least 1 to 3 inches longer than what you're cutting. So if I have a small knife like this is called our trimmer. If I'm trying to cut a chicken with it or a turkey with it, I'm going to be sawing back and forth. I'm going to stab myself. It's just way too small. So it's got to be between a couple inches longer than what you're cutting. So I need a big knife for the big stuff, small knife for the small stuff. So it's important to have the right tool for the right job. Ladies, how many pairs of shoes do you have? Way too many, right? There's a shoe for every occasion for every shoe. You're not going to wear your sneakers to a formal outing. You're not going to wear your heels to mow the lawn. It's important to have the right shoe for the right outfit, the right occasion. Anybody play golf? Okay, so you need the right club for the right shot. Right? You're not going to use a putter off the tee, and you're not going to use a driver out of the sand. It's important to have the right club for the right shot for your club, club for a shot. So it's important to have the right tool for the right job. Same thing with kitchen cutlery. You can't get by with just one knife.
It's the best value for your average family and starts with your...
Why do we say the word your? Why is your so important? Ownership. You want to feel like it's already there. So the first tool is your paring knife. Every knife has a name of the knife. Now don't worry about the dimensions where it says 2 3/4 inch. Don't worry about that. Just say paring knife. And then it says a nickname. So the paring knife is called the what knife? Air knife. Why is the paring knife called the air knife? Why do you think?
It's for jobs in the air.
Jobs in the air. Perfect, Connor. Perfect. Who in here cooks, by the way? Okay. I didn't cook. Who doesn't cook? Who was like me when I was in high school? Okay? I was 18. It's mac and cheese and Pop-Tarts. I never used a paring knife at all in my life. Now I use it all the time. I have the ultimate set, but I never cooked when I was in high school. So do you think I ever used a paring knife? No, but as long as I followed the manual and I got excited, my customers got excited too. It's important to make sure that you get excited about each piece individually, not just the pieces that you like. Because if you only get excited about the pieces you like, you're going to sell a lot of spatula spreaders, okay? This thing is really cool, but you've got to get excited about each piece. So even if you would never use a butcher knife, like you're like, what would I ever use a butcher knife, okay? You got to get excited about it for the customer because they use a butcher knife. What do you notice that's different about this paring knife?
It has a very long handle.
Perfect, Jeremiah. It's got the long handle. What are your customers going to notice automatically immediately? Most paring knives, they have short, stubby handles that dig into your palm. Would you agree? They're going to freak out. Who thinks their mom would freak out when they hold on to that handle? They're going to freak out, and they're going to say, all right, this one's mine. Right? If you can get them excited about each piece in the set, then it makes sense to buy a what? A set. So you've got to get excited about each piece individually. So it's got a really long handle. That's the calling card for our paring knife. Short, stubby blade. Now it's a straight edge, so it's never used for what? Back and forth. It's only used in the what? In the air. So it's called the air knife because it's only used in the air. It's never used in the cutting board. Now, the reason why paring knives go dull pretty easily in most households is because grandma sits there and she's like chopping celery with a paring knife. It's inefficient, takes a long time, plus that straight edge blade is only supposed to be used in the air because the food's not going to dull a knife, just the cutting board. Now, you can go towards yourself with a paring knife and you're not going to cut yourself. So tops off of strawberries, bananas, and cereal. You can go towards yourself. Never go like this. You will slice yourself. It's very, very sharp, but you can go against your finger if you're taking tops off strawberries, things like that. Now, do you think it's okay to let your customer know to like mention a couple other things that it could be used for? You think that's okay? What does that do? It builds what? Value. So the more ideas, the more Mrs. Jones can see that she would use each piece, the more value it builds. You can jot them down in the margin. Now, I wouldn't add in a ton, but as Mrs. Jones is playing with the knife, you can say, oh, you can also use it for this and this and this. Just goes right around the outside. It doesn't take big chunks off. It's really smooth, and you see the full handle, so it's not digging into my handle. And I just go around the entire thing, just like that. It's super easy. Do you think Mrs. Jones would have an easy time with this? Is this cool or what? You guys like that? You see the importance of having a good paring knife in the house? Everybody needs a good paring knife. Right? So that's the first tool in the set. So the paring knife is used for all your foods in the air, but never on the cutting board. That's why you have your what? Trimmer. So every knife says what it's used for, but it also says what it's not used for. Each piece leads into the other piece, and they're very transitional, so they're complementary as well, so that it leads into the other piece. All the pieces in the homemaker set are just the basic pieces, so every one of them is necessary for average everyday cooking. So each piece leads to the next one. Andrew just started a week and a half ago, less than 2 weeks ago. And Andrew, what's your favorite thing about the job?
It sells itself. It's so easy to do. And it's a lot more fun than just sitting behind a desk or whatever.
Yeah, and so Cutco's easier to sell than you thought it was going to be?
Yeah.
And does everyone tell you they're going to buy?
No.
What do they all say?
I'm just going to look, I'll help you out, but I'm not going to get anything.
What do they end up doing?
Buying.
They end up buying. And what do you get in sales now?
13.5.
And when did you start?
Less than 2 weeks ago.
Less than 2 weeks ago, so you've already made $3 grand in less than 2 weeks. Sweet. How much did you make all of last summer?
About half that.
Should they get excited about the Fast Start prizes?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
and
so
sick.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell them prizes yet because they're not excited enough. What kind of,
Come on.
And did you have some people that you didn't think were going to buy that ended up buying?
Oh, yeah.
And how many no sales have you had total so far?
None.
You haven't had a no sale, so you're 100% closing? Yeah. And also Andrew recommended a bunch of his friends for the job. They're all doing really well, so they're extremely appreciative. One piece of advice on how to get the most out of training in their first weekend?
Listen to Drew and call everybody. The more appointments you book, the more you will sell. I had, I think 18 my first weekend. Yeah. And that's why I sold as much as I did.
Awesome. So. Cool. All right. So the next tool in your set is your what? Trimmer. It's called the small what knife?
Utility.
Utility knife. Okay, now why is this one too small for a chicken?
It's not 1 to 3 inches longer.
Exactly, it's not bigger than a chicken. So it's too small, it would be dangerous, it would be inefficient. So you can't use this for the big stuff, it's only for the small stuff. Oranges, apples, small fruits and veggies on the cutting board, also tomatoes. Whatever handle color they like better, just say me too, right? Whether they say classic or pearl, just say, yeah, me too, it's my favorite, right? Just agree with whatever they say. Who's ever smashed a tomato with a normal knife? You ever get stuff on your shirt and you get it just, how many slices of tomato do you get with a normal knife? This is the #1 knife sold since 1949. Okay, #1 knife sold. It's the most popular knife. It's the easiest one. It's the most versatile. This thing is sick. Now check this out. I'm not going to put any effort into this. I'm going to make a really smooth, thin, perfect slice of this tomato. And this is like juicy and ripe. Okay, this thing is awesome. Check this out. Did you see that? Look how thin it is. Is it possible to get a thin slice of tomato like that on any other knife? Check this out. You can go forwards like this. It's like a contact lens. Okay, you can see the veins in the tomato. Check it out. So you go forwards like this. Oh, wow. Unreal. Pass this around. Would you ever go straight down on a tomato?
No.
Why? What happens?
Squish it.
Is that unbelievable or what?
Yeah.
Is that sick? Every knife, if you build value for it, what are they going to buy?
The set.
The homemaker set. Exactly. How hard is it to cut apples? Why is it hard to cut apples? Because the core, and also they're dense, right? The trimmer's never used for spreading or serving. That's why you have your what? Spatula spreader. Anybody ever done like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches like with a normal knife and you like try to get jelly and you have to like balance it on the knife and it like falls off and you ruin the bread? Ever do that? Anybody ever try to do cream cheese on a bagel but you have to do like 25 spreads to get the right amount of cream cheese and it takes you like 10 minutes? Okay, you know the Philadelphia cream cheese commercial where it's like the perfect spread? This thing is sick. All right, this is the spatula spreader. Also, have you ever tried to cut a piece of pie? What happens to the first piece of pie? It ruins it. It ruins the first piece of pie. Have you ever, because why? It doesn't have the edge on a pie cutter, right? So have you ever cut lasagna with a normal spatula and you like the middle noodle gets sucked in, you ruin the whole thing? Okay, this is unbelievable. It has so many uses for icing, cutting cakes, spreading and serving. My dad loves this knife. This is one of his favorites because what he'll do is he'll go into the kitchen. He's a football fan. Anybody have a dad that's a football fan? Okay, he goes into during commercial break and what he'll do is he'll make a sandwich real quick because he doesn't want to miss a play. Right, so cuts his bagel, spreads his mayo, spreads mustard, cuts his tomato, puts his turkey on there, cuts his sandwich all with one knife, and it's like an over-the-shoulder toss into the sink as he's rushing back in front of the TV. That way he doesn't miss a play. He loves this knife. Now my mom loves this knife because growing up we had sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, tuna fish, egg salad. You think moms like this knife? It's got the double D edge, so you can cut. Okay, goes through the crust, but also doesn't like ruin all the apples because when you have a piece of apple pie, it like sucks all the apples from like one side of the pie to the other. Okay, it ruins the whole thing, but then it's flexible, so you can get underneath and you can serve it just like that. The perfect piece of pie every single time. Is that nuts or what? You guys like this knife? Now, don't lick the spatula spreader because it's got a double D edge. So even if there's like chocolate icing on it, don't lick it because it's super sharp and it will cut, all right? But it's never used for meat or medium-sized vegetables. That's why you have your what? You have your petite carver. Now, I'm not going to use this on a turkey because a turkey's way too what? And I'm not going to use this on a tomato because tomato's too what? So it's important to have the right tool for the right what? Because of safety and
Efficiency.
beautiful. All right, so this is your everyday meat knife. This is probably the most versatile. If I were only to choose one knife, if I had to have only one knife, it would probably be the petite carver. Check this out. Is anybody timing me? Is the most underrated tool in the set. I love the turning fork. I use this every single day. Now, when I was 18, did I use this at all? No way, because it was just a fork. Okay, but now I use it all the time, every day. It's one of my favorites. Okay, the reason why it's a favorite is because it's got so many uses. Most people don't appreciate the importance of a good turning fork until they've used the Cutco turning fork. So the tines, they're shaped to make them easier to use. The way that's shaped is it flares out on the outside. That way you get a really good hold, and you can play the trick on the dog. It's not going anywhere. You can, it's stuck in there. Has anybody ever chased bacon around the pan? Ever done that? Has anybody ever tried to like flip a chicken, but you can't do it, so you have to like kind of like flip it over the edge? Has anybody ever tried to get pickles or cherries out of a jar? Okay, and you stab it like 100 times, you like screw it, you dip your hand in there, and you got pickle juice all over. Okay, so it flares out, so it's got a good hold, but then it's flattened out in the back, so it slides right off. So it's really easy to turn. Now, it doesn't have a full tang. Why does this not have a full tang? Well, where do you use it? Over a hot what? Surface. You don't want to get hot in your hand. You don't want to burn your hand. So it is chemically bonded to the thermal resin. It's not coming out ever. And if it does, it's forever what? I've never seen a turning fork come out of the handle. It's impossible. You guys like this piece? You see the importance of having this in the set? Okay, cool. All right. None of the pieces we talked about so far are used for what?
Larger food.
That's why you have your what? Butcher knife. It looks like a machete, right? Now, it's important. Even though it looks scary, it's very important to have because it protects your other knives with big stuff. If you use a really small knife on a big heavy-duty job, would that be dangerous? Yes. If you use this knife on a big job, it's not dangerous because it's going to do the job, right? So it's important to have knives like this so you can take care of the heavy-duty stuff. It's got a straight edge, so it's never used for what? Sawing back and forth. It's only for a precision cut. So the butcher knife is never used on the cutting board for back and forth. It's got a curve to it, so we're going to just break the seal, and then we're going to use the weight of the knife to power through. This is the coolest thing you're ever going to see. Would you trust another knife with that? No. Is that pretty sick or what? Yeah. All right, let's go for some big piece. I didn't cut that the most even, but check this out. Is that awesome or what? You guys see the importance of the butcher knife in the set? Yeah. Who's getting fired up about Cutco? The point of the chef knife always stays on the cutting board. You never use the the front half of the blade. It's always the back half of the blade. Okay, fingertips in, knuckles out. The point always stays on the cutting board. You don't go like this like you see on TV. For home use, the way you use it is the point on the cutting board and just go up and down just like this. Now, because this knife is so long, it means that I don't have to raise my arm too high. So Mrs. Jones, if she's short and tiny and has little tiny arms, then the longer the knife is more necessary. Because if she had a shorter knife, she would have to go up like this to try to get leverage on it. So this is actually easier to use the shorter Mrs. Jones is. So longer is better for a chef knife. Does that make sense? And this thing is sharp as you know what. It is unreal. Check this out. This is a really, really fresh loaf of bread. What's going to happen to it with a normal knife? It's going to smash it. I'm not going to use any pressure. I'm just going to use the weight of the knife. I'm just going to hold it with the rivets, and I'm just going to drag the knife through. And I'm just going to let the weight of the knife do the cutting. Is that cool or what? Unreal. Unreal. Check this out. And with a normal knife, what's going to happen? No crumbs at all. If you buy a head of lettuce in the grocery store, how much is a head of lettuce? A couple bucks, like $1, $2. How much is a bag of lettuce? Like $3, $4. What do you get more lettuce out of, the bag or the head? What's more fresh, the bag or the head? What's cheaper, the bag or the head? Okay, so if you use your slicer, check this out. You cut the butt off there. Okay, but then what you're going to do is you just do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And we're just gonna make half a salad. We're gonna keep this, and then you just slice it like this, and you have your salad for your family. Or you can do the full head if you've got a bigger family. All right, now the slicer, it's perfect for slicing boneless meats, but not for anything with a bone. That's why you have your what? Master carving set. Has anybody ever, like on Thanksgiving, like it's really embarrassing to watch dad struggle with the turkey, and it's just a horrible experience. So this is so smooth, and it just glides right through. It's got the double D edge. It's just so perfect, and it's just, whew. So the carving fork, this is your anchor. This holds meats down. Is this gonna hold meat down? No, this picks things up. It's a turning fork. So this is for holding things down. This is for picking things up. So they're two forks, but they have opposite uses. Okay, so that's why you have to have both. Cool? All right, so that is the carving set. You guys like this? Now the nickname, what's the nickname of the master carving set? Spare tire. Spare tire. How many wheels in a car? 5. Spare tire. Do you think about it every day? Nope. But when you need it, how do you feel about it? Glad you have it. That's the spare tire. With the carving set, are they going to use the carving set every day? No way. They're going to use it every week? No, not even every month. If they just used it on the holidays, even just twice a year, even just once a year, over a lifetime, could you see the importance of having that in the set? And that's why 30,000 people bought homemaker sets last year, because it's so important to have that carving set, even if they're just going to use it once or twice a year. All right. Then it says, can you see how over a what? You're going to use every what? Tool. To complete your set, your table knives are used for every meal, breakfast, lunch, and what? Dinner. Dinner. Now, who has ever had the earthquake effect at the table where everyone's cutting their steak at the same time? You're like yelling at each other and it starts like a family feud? Okay. They're the most used knives in your set, so we recommend how many table knives per person in the family? 2. So the homemaker comes with how many table knives? So it's perfect for a family of 4. If they have a bigger family, can they buy additional extra table knives? It's the most popular thing for Cutco owners to buy more of. So they can buy a set without the table knives, which is called the basic set. Most people buy it with the what? Table knives. The table knives come in the set already, so they don't have to buy them extra because they already come as part of the set in the block, so they're already part of it. Okay, let's compare the Cutco table knife to your steak knife by cutting a tough piece of leather. All right, so we're going to use your 2 junky table knives. We're going to use a wooden handle one, plastic handle one. Does this look familiar? Anybody steak knives at home? Okay, so we're going to use the wooden handle one first. We've got a tough piece of leather here. Okay, take this knife, start all the way in the back of the, yep, perfect, and go back and forth. You can stand up if you need to. Go back and forth. That's a good piece of steak there. All right, you don't have to finish that. Okay, then do the same thing with this one. Be a little careful, man.
Yeah, I'm going this side.
Okay. Okay, eventually gets through. Okay. Cutco table knife. Start all the way at the top, pull straight down. You don't have to. You dented the cutting board on that one.
I didn't
yeah.
know.
See how thin that is? Awesome. See how smooth that is? This thing is. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? So smooth. So you're just gonna cut strips of leather just like this. And you're going to stack them up. And you're going to say, Mrs. Jones, how many pieces of leather do you think stacked up would equal a nice-sized piece of steak? And she's going to say, like, 2 or 3 or 4. She might say 5, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. You can stack up 6 or 7 or 8. It's always going to do the same thing, no matter how high you build a stack. But we're going to cut up these strips of leather. And we're going to take their table knife, and I'm going to push straight down, and all you see is the marks on my finger, right? Because I'm pushing really hard. It doesn't even dent the first one. Same thing with their other one, pushing straight down, marks on my finger, nothing happening. Cutco table knife, we'll use a different spot so we're not cheating. And it just melts through the whole stack. And you could do it with 8 or 9 pieces. It doesn't matter. You guys like that? Yeah. So it shows how the double D edge goes forwards, backwards, and straight down. All right, so that's the table knife. You see the importance of the table knives in the set? Those are awesome.
Mrs. Jones, it would be dangerous to have really sharp knives floating around in a drawer. Our sets come with a solid oak wood block, which looks great on the counter. So these are pressure treated and sealed. It's got the rubber pegs at the bottom so it doesn't scratch your countertop. So they come in the 2 different colors. So it's the oak and the cherry color. So usually the customers get whichever color matches their cabinet. So if they have lighter color cabinets, the oak looks fantastic. If they have darker color cabinets, man, that cherry just looks so sweet. Of course, most popular is going to be your wood block. If you think of any TV show, any movie, you're going to see a wood block on every single counter of every single movie and every single TV show. Does anyone know when you're staging a home, a real estate agent, what's the most valuable room in the house? Does anyone know? It's the kitchen. It's the first room that you get remodeled when you're going to go sell your house. And when they come in to stage a home, what's one of the first things they put on the counter? A really nice, classy wood block set of knives. We also have storage trays for storage in a drawer on the wall. That's great if they prefer to keep stuff away and off the counter. It's important to use a soft plastic cutting board. Glass, granite, and marble cutting boards are too hard and they'll dull your knives. What's great about our cutting boards is they actually set up on stilts. So what's cool is that you can actually scoot a plate underneath of them and scoop stuff straight onto the plate. It also has a little juice catcher around the outside so the stuff doesn't get all over the counter as well. And or you can even scoot a recipe underneath of the cutting board, so save some space on the counter as well. So those are our cutting boards, and that comes with the set. Next thing we're going to talk about is the kitchen tools and the entertainer pack. When Cutco is going to think about introducing any other products to our line, it always has to fit into 3 different rules. So here's the 3 different rules. The first is that anything we make, we're not going to make it unless we can make it so high quality that we would feel comfortable backing it with a forever guarantee. Because if we make a product that's lower quality and guarantee it forever, then what's going to happen? We're going to have to replace stuff all the time. So we won't make something unless we know we can make it so high quality that we can feel confident that that's not going to have to be replaced, right? So that's the first thing, is the forever guarantee. The second thing is that it has to be dishwasher safe. So we won't make anything unless you can put in the dishwasher. Cutco is designed for your everyday home kitchen and your everyday home cooks. So we want to make it easy for our customers. And the third thing it needs to be able to do, it needs to be able to be top rated in the marketplace. We need to be able to test all the other products out there. So whether it's a veggie peeler or an ice cream scoop or a set of knives, we're going to test it up against everything else in the market to make sure Cutco is always the top performer. And if we can't say those 3 things, guaranteed forever, dishwasher safe, and top performer, then we're not going to make that item. So the next thing I'm going to show you is called the entertainer pack. And so the entertainer pack has our 4 most popular gadgets. And so I love this pack. This is ice cream scoop, veggie peeler, pizza cutter, and cheese knife. I'm going to talk briefly about each of them here for a second. I will tell you, this thing is so cool. My mom actually gets 3 of these every single year and puts it into the closet. And anytime there's a wedding or a gift that pops up, she just grabs one, wraps it, and puts a card on it, because it's so much nicer to be able to do that than to have to go to the store or the mall every time an occasion pops up. And this is always a huge hit and a big winner because it's our 4 most popular gadgets. So let's talk about them. The first is the veggie peeler. So the veggie peeler we showed you earlier, that thing's the turbo peeler. You can go forward, you can go backward, and it's fantastic. So that's the peeler. The next thing I want to talk about is the ice cream scoop. Oh my God, this thing is fantastic. If you put an ice cube in the scooper and an ice cube in a plastic cup right next to it, the one in the scoop melts 4 times faster than the one in the cup. It's the coolest thing you'll ever see. In my house, we do a lot of melon, cantaloupe, and honeydew. And so what's great about this is we cut it in half and then we use it to scoop the seeds out as well. So you might be able to see that it doesn't actually hit the counter as well, right? So it's not going to get ice cream all over the counter, and super popular. It comes to a little pointed tip so you can get around the corners of the ice cream container, right? And you don't want to be cutting that thing with the super shears and the licking. That's just not a good move, right? This is going to help you get there without embarrassing yourself. So no judging. The next piece is the pizza cutter. What's cool about the pizza cutter is that the steel is actually strong enough that it doesn't need to be sharp. And here's what's cool about the pizza cutter. You can just pop it right out and put this right in the dishwasher. Most people have a pizza cutter at home that has has cheese in it from like 10 years ago. What's great about this is that you can pop the blade right out, clean it, and pop it right back in. The last piece is the cheese knife. It is fantastic for cheese, of course, but really anything starchy or sticky. So if you think about raw potatoes, okay, so making homemade French fries, homemade scalloped potatoes, homemade hash browns. My late night snack is like an apple with a little peanut butter. This is perfect for apples, okay? Think of anything that you would be afraid of squishing, like a really ripe tomato or a kiwi. So what's great is that it has holes in it so the cheese doesn't stick to it, and it's got a spreadable tip on the end so you can spread cheese onto crackers. That's the entertainer pack. Do you think this is a really popular gift pack? Absolutely. So that's the entertainer pack. Really popular option for people to add to their set.
Oh, well, I want to introduce you to Ray. Ray just started in last week's training group. Ray, what's your favorite thing about Cutco so far?
My favorite thing about Cutco is doing the demos, eating the food and showing the product. It's easy to sell.
Was it easier to sell than you thought it was going to be?
A lot easier,
Yeah.
actually.
And did you have anybody, did everybody over the phone, did they tell you they were going to buy?
Oh, nobody ever says they're going to buy.
What did they end up doing?
Buying.
Yeah, and you sold your first 2 sets in the past couple days also.
Yes,
So
sir.
right at that first promotion. This is their second day of training. Can you give one piece of advice on how to get the most out of training and the most out of their first weekend?
Well, first, take notes. The notes are really going to help. And honestly, if you read the manual, you're going to get it. If you read the manual, you're going to get a sale.